Hello and welcome to the SFM Music channel. This is my third video in the Hitchhiker's Guide to Music series. If this is the first video you're watching and you're a beginner musician, I recommend you start at the beginning of this series. I'll leave a link here and in the description. In this episode, we're going to start talking about notation. This is often one of the largest hurdles facing beginner musicians, and ultimately what causes a lot of students to quit. But stick with it. Just like learning to read words, when you get the hang of it, the payoff is enormous. In this video, I'm mainly going to talk about note value. And what I mean by value is how long a note is, or how long we play a note for. Let's jump in. Firstly, I'm going to say there is two common ways to say note values. I'm going to talk about both, as both are widespread and primarily used in just differing parts of the world. In the Americas, it's normal to call notes by their mathematical value, a whole note, a half note, a quarter note, and so on. But in Europe, and as far as I know the rest of the world, they use the British name system where notes have a specific name. Anyway, this is a semibreve, or if you're American, a whole note. A semibreve is 4 beats long. You might wonder why the whole note is said to have 4 beats. It's because by far the most common time signature is 4/4, which has 4 beats per bar. Therefore, a semibreve occupies the entire length of a bar and gets the name a whole note, as in a whole bar. Half the value of a semibreve is a minim, or a half note. It looks just like a semibreve, but it has a stem. It's half the value, so it's worth 2 beats. Half the value of a minim is a crotchet, or a quarter note. A crotchet is worth 1 beat. This looks just like a minim, but it has a solid center. I have a funny story about crotchets and minims. When I took my first music theory class in college, I had a lecturer who polarized the class with one statement. Half the class fell around the place laughing, and the other half were disgusted that a lecturer would say this to a serious music student. He said, "To help you remember, a minim has a clean face and a crotchet has a dirty face. You can decide if this is helpful or not." Anyway, half the value of a crotchet is a quaver or an 8 note. I'm guessing you can see the pattern now. Each note is worth half the value of its next largest. A quaver looks just like a crotchet, but it has a tail, or some people like to call it a flag. This pattern goes on. Half of a quaver is a semiquaver or a 16th note. Half of the semiquaver is a demi-semiquaver or a 32nd note. Half of the demi-semiquaver is the hemi-demi-semiquaver or 64th note, and it's getting a bit ridiculous now. If you look at the pattern of names, you might notice that the note value smaller than a quaver is a semiquaver. So this might lead you to ask the question, is the semibreve a subdivision of something else? And yes, it is. It's called the breve, and it looks like this. However, you rarely see it, as there is very little music in the world that has 8 beats in a bar. This is the very basics of rhythmic notation, but knowing this much is a great start. Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video and you want to continue learning about music, please hit the subscribe and bell button below and feel free to share or comment.